Good morning. And it really does bring joy to my own heart to be a part of this parish and to be with you here this morning. Of course, as we said, it's Gaudete Sunday, Gaudete being the Latin for rejoice. And no matter what our circumstances may be this morning, the church is calling us to rejoice. Someone said to me this time last year, "Father, my life is falling apart. How am I supposed to rejoice?" And that was a good question a year ago, but that is even more pertinent this year. One thing that can inhibit our experience of true Christian joy is having the wrong expectations. The joy that comes from Christ goes deeper than just passing emotions. It's a joy that comes from knowing that Christ is always with us, that He's guiding us, that He is tenderly and powerfully loving us, even in our most severe trials. We know that He didn't come to bring heaven to earth in the sense of things being smooth. And even though commercials and so forth will kind of promote this type of Christmas, if we buy into it, we won't recognize Christ when He comes. God is constantly laboring to communicate His love to us. And if we have the wrong expectation, we won't recognize that love when it comes. That was the problem with the scribes and Pharisees in the gospel that the deacon just read. They come out to investigate John the Baptist. These are the same leaders who later on will have Christ executed. When they hear rumors that John the Baptist is attracting large crowds and preaching to them about the Messiah, they get suspicious. Why? Since he didn't come from their circle. Do you have a circle right now? Your political party? People who think their interpretation of the church, same as yours. Your circle. Because John the Baptist didn't come from their circle, they couldn't accept that he could be a true messenger from God. And so even when John the Baptist answers all their questions, they pay no attention to what he says. And as a result, they weren't ready to welcome Christ later when Christ came. They were expecting some kind of political Messiah. By the way, politics will never free us. They were expecting a political Messiah, not a Messiah who would redeem the world from sin. They listened to John's message only through a filter of their own personal agendas. And they missed the whole point. Their own preconceived notions impeded their acceptance of the true word of God spoken by John the Baptist. They heard true prophecy but it didn't help them at all. Now, here we are, the third Sunday of Lent, more than midway through Advent, or I should say third Sunday of Advent. We have to examine our own expectations for the coming celebration of Christmas. This year we might be saddened, maybe because some personal tragedy in our own lives, or that we can't participate with our families in the usual Christmas gatherings, children's pageants, parties. But God desires from his heart to give us something even more important. He wants for us a new outpouring of grace into our hearts this Christmas. But unless we have the right expectations, we won't be ready to accept it. That means three things. First, we have to avoid the trap of the Pharisees. We can't think in regard to our faith that we know it all already. Myself included, of course. We mustn't think that we already understand how God works, or that we personally are beyond a new, true, transforming encounter with the living God. We have to believe in a God who will still surprise us. Secondly, it means that we have to spend some quality time in prayer in these next 10 days. I'd like to suggest that you find, I think it's in the bulletin, or go online, Google in daily Mass readings, and each day read the Holy Scriptures from Mass for that particular day. This will help tune our souls to kind of God's wavelength, so that we could hear the voice of Christ to us for Christmas. And third and last, having the right expectations means spending time before Christmas reaching out to others in need. Pope Francis keeps reminding us that here in the church, we can't be so navel-gazing, always looking within. We have to continually be going out. So whether the need is material, spiritual, emotional, the best way to, quote, make straight the way of the Lord, as John the Baptist did in preparation for the coming of Christ, is to give others an experience of God's goodness. By reaching out to others, we'll kind of be clearing the runway for the arrival of God's grace in our hearts. As Jesus says, and we read it in Luke chapter 6, give, and gifts will be given to you. In a few moments, Jesus will renew his commitment to us through the sacrifice of his body and blood at Mass. When he does, let's stir up our desire. Desires are important. Let's stir up the desire in our heart to know and to love him better. When he does this, we will be surprised by the wonder of his grace poured abundantly into our hearts this Advent and Christmas season.